Hello, welcome back to the channel. So we have not gotten a 4-star in a long time, since like 2.5, which is like over a year I believe. And while the new 5 stars I do think have been exciting and I have enjoyed using, I do think it is kind of causing some problems for the game, the fact that we're only getting 5 stars. One, a lot of teams needing premium supports to even work at all. Like, the biggest example of this is with energy teams. Like, if you don't have Sunday, you might as well not even bother playing characters like Aglaia, because Team is nowhere close to how good Sunday is in those teams. Like, obviously, budget options aren't going to be as strong as, like, their best-in-slot options, but, like, that doesn't mean that they need to be bad. Like, we have seen some of them be good, like Remembrance MC and Gallagher, but the gap for a lot of them is just way too big, which is why I think that we need more buffs, so that some of these older characters can actually feel decent to play. Because right now, basically every team is just 5 stars, which would be fine if the game was built around it, but that kind of leads to I think the main problem is that the game is not built around only having 5 stars. Because the amount of J's that we get is just not enough, like, partially because of, the lack of events. Like, yeah, we're getting 3 next patch, but 3 is still not enough, and for the majority of M4As, it has only been 2 events in a patch, which is terrible. Especially with them releasing 2 5 stars almost every single patch. And, like, you do get a decent amount for beating the endgame modes, but the problem is that, like, you need the 5 stars to be able to beat the endgame mode, so it kind of creates the problem where you need the Jades to get the 5 stars, but you can't get the 5 stars without the Jades, or, you just get lucky. Like, obviously, you don't need every single 5 star, like, if you aren't playing Dot, you don't need high ceilings, and I do think part of the problem comes from people trying to, pull for every single character. But the only real, like, non-premium support options right now are, like, Remembrance MC, who is really good, and maybe Bronya, since she is in the standard banner, but, like, that's kind of it. And, speaking of Remembrance MC, the problem with the MC specifically is having a unique mechanic locked to them, and then getting a better version of them later, and then getting another really good version of them. So you basically have to pull for that other 5 star if you want to keep using that mechanic. Like, if you want to play Break, you kind of have to get Fugue, because of how good Remembrance MC is in a lot of teams, like, like Casterus, and you can only use one form of them at a time. And I am kind of worried that the same thing is going to happen again with Cyrene, since she is also Ice Remembrance, and I doubt she's going to be a DPS, since Evernight seems to be, like, mainly a damage dealer and is also Ice Remembrance. Which, feels kind of scummy, I'm not gonna lie. Especially with how they're kind of doing banners as well, with, like, having a character come out and then another character immediately that goes with them right after. Like Sunday releasing right before Aglaia, or, Hyacinth coming out right after Casters. Which, like, sure, it is also in line with the story, but it really does not help. By the way, if you are enjoying the video, maybe consider hitting the like button and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. Anyway, on top of that, a lot of the newer 5 stars just don't have that many great, like, budget Lycon options. Like, with Cypher, you have Resolution, and that's kind of it. Like, this can be seen the most with Remembrance, which I think is part of the reason a lot of people dislike it. Like, the only real DPS Remembrance options you have for Lycons are locked behind the Battle Pass, so there's going to be a lot of people who aren't going to be able to get them. So while Hyacinth and Remembrance MC have some pretty good options like Memory and Victory, for Aglaia, you kind of need either to, like, get lucky with getting, like, Genius's Greetings, or use one of the 3-star Lycons, which is kind of surprisingly good, but still is just nowhere close to how good some of the more premium options are. Like, or even, like, compared to, like, the actual, damage options that you can get. For casters, like, yeah, sure, you can use any, like, high HP Lycon, but losing out on an actual effect because there's just not that many DPS options is pretty bad. And I feel like Remembrance really does just need more Lycons. Now, this is kind of getting a bit better, with, Ceredra getting an event Lycon that is, pretty good on her, which, to be honest, I think more 5 stars should get. And Harmony does at least have, Dance, which is coming back next patch, but it is still a problem for a lot of characters. Now, I know a lot of people would say, oh, why don't they just, make more 4 stars? Because, that is the most obvious solution. But the problem with that is that, do people actually want more 4 stars, or do they just say that because they feel like that's the best option? Because whenever a character gets revealed and that is a 4 star, people always complain that they are a 4 star. I feel like people want them until a character that they like ends up being one. Which, you know, I do get, you know, Shui being a 4-star did kind of hurt my soul. But it is, I think, healthy for the game to not have 5 stars be the only good option. And, like, we have seen that they can make good 4 stars. You know, we got, like, you know, Gallagher, Hunt, March, Small Herda in certain teams and in Pure Fiction. Even, like, Tingyun, even if she pales in comparison to Sunday on energy teams. But, like, I do kind of understand them just doing 5 stars to some extent, especially for Amphorius, since, you know, all the characters are meant to be this big, you know, exciting, godlike characters. And 5 stars are generally just more exciting and more fun to use, and can also, you know, make people more interested in characters they might not be as into otherwise, like High Ceilings or even like Triby. But like I said earlier, the game is just not built around this right now because the amount of Jades that we're getting is not enough with how many 5 stars we're getting. Now, we have been getting, you know, free 5 stars pretty decently, which has been kind of surprising, like, you know, Rodmay or Luocha in 3.2, Archer in 3.4, and now we're getting the new version of Dan in 3.6, which does definitely help a lot. I mean, Archer is one of the best DPSs in the game. Runmay can be used like in like a decent amount of teams, even outside of Break with like Casters in place of Triby. But we do still really need more events. Like, only having 2 for most of the Amphorius patches is just really bad, even besides just for the Jade. Even just for content in general, it just feels like there's just nothing to do half the time. More buffs would also help a lot, because, you know, if characters like Hanya got buffed, it would help you feel like you're not just forced to pull for Sparkle if you want to play skill point teams. Because the problem isn't having synergy between characters. I think it is good to have that, since it can make teams, you know, more fun, and encourages players to, you know, keep building out their teams and not just use the same couple of characters forever. The problem is when that synergy is the only good option. Like, if you don't have Robin for follow-up teams, those teams feel infinitely worse to play. And I would know as someone who has tried to get Robin and failed every single time. And we have seen that buffs can make a pretty big difference with, you know, a lot of the characters in 3.4 being way better than they were before. You know, Blade does way more damage than he did before. Shovelwolf is like one of the best supports now. Kafka got a lot better. I mean, it definitely helped that High Ceilings came out right after, but still. The one who probably did get it the worst is Jing Liu, who is, I do think is better than she was before, but it's still just decent DPS, and that's about it. That is the one thing that did kind of disappoint me about 3.6, is that we're still not getting any more buffs. When a lot of characters, especially those from 1.0, could really need them. Like, at the end of the day, I do enjoy using 5 stars a lot, and I do generally like the kit design of the 3.x characters more, since they feel a bit more unique from one another, compared to some of the 2.x characters, which sometimes did feel like more of the same, because it was just kind of the same mechanic over and over again, especially with Break. But, like, if we're only going to get 5 stars, then there needs to be, like, changes made to the game to accommodate for that. I mean, there does also just need to be, like, changes made to a lot of stuff in the game in general, like, you know, MOC just being really bad right now, you know, like HP thing, that kind of stuff. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.